Hello friends and welcome into College Football Now. I am your host Tom Downey here with the brand new AP poll just released to us here. No teams lost in the top 10 this week, but there are some changes in the top 10. So the top 5, well, that actually stays the same. Bama, Clemson, Notre Dame, Michigan, Georgia. No changes there. Same two at number 6 and number 7. It is still Oklahoma and West Virginia. But Washington State jumps up from number 10 all the way to number 8. They beat Ohio State by just 2 points. LSU, they slide to number 10 after a bit of a weak showing against Arkansas. UCF, they remain at number 11. No respect for the defending national champions. Syracuse is at 12. And look, folks, beyond the top 11, there are really not a lot of good teams out there. The parity is a mess. Texas at number 13. Utah State at number 14. Florida goes up to number 15 after a comeback win against South Carolina. Penn State goes to number 16 after they beat Wisconsin. Washington slides up after a bye week. Iowa State is now in the top 20. UC is at number 19. Kentucky is at number 20, even though they beat Florida head-to-head, but I digress on that one. Utah at number 21. Boston College slides down to number 22. Boise State beat Fresno State, so they jump into the top 25. Northwestern, your Big Ten West champs, are at number 24 at 6-4 after having lost to Akron earlier on this season. And then the Bulldogs stay at number 25. I do want to make note here, there is no respect right now for UAB. They are one of the top receiving votes programs. They're at there at number 27, 78 votes, quite a bit short there behind Mississippi State. UAB 9-1, they should be ranked over Boise State. What Bill Clark has done is absolutely incredible. Fresno State, they slide out. So does Michigan State and NC State. Those are the three that were ranked last week but are no longer ranked. Buffalo, they're at 9-1, believe that or not. Pittsburgh at 6-4. Duke, A&M, Iowa, Arizona State, Stanford, Auburn, Troy. I don't know how a lot of those programs are getting votes, but there's not exactly a lot of teams that truly deserve a top 25 ranking as we sit right now. All right, so to recap the top 25 here again, we'll go through this a little bit slower this time. Bama and Clemson, they remain number 1 and number 2. That's not much of a surprise. Let me know in the comment section if you think Bama can actually Clemson, can take down Bama. I think of the teams right now, I think Clemson has the best chance to do it if they got to play. We know that Georgia will play them in the SEC title game. Notre Dame, they check in at number 3 with Michigan there at number 4. So again, no change in the top 5. Oklahoma holds on to lead over West Virginia. Those two will get their chance at the end of the year and then possibly again in the Big 12 title game. The Cougars, they remain the Pac-12's last great hope as they sit there at 9-1. They move up 2 spots this week, and they had a nice win over Colorado. Shut them out in the second, third, and fourth quarters. OSU, at number 9 there. They stay at number 9-1. LSU at number 10. I don't know what I just did to myself there. LSU slides back down. They were number 8. They looked bad against Arkansas. They fall to number 10. UCF, there remains no respect out there. They sit at number 11. Syracuse at number 12. They've actually been pretty darn good, and they'll get a chance to rise up possibly into the top 10 if they can take down Notre Dame in just a little bit. Texas is still alive in the Big 12 race. Let me know if you want them, if you think they'll win the Big 12, or if it'll be Oklahoma, West Virginia, 2 more likely candidates, or maybe even Iowa State. The Cyclones check in at number 18. They are still 6-3, part of a bunch of teams with 3 losses there. 16 Penn State. Washington is there at number 17. UC, hats off to Luke Fickell, has done a good job this year. They're at 9-1. Kentucky, by the way, is 7-3. They coming off a loss to Tennessee. They plummeted a big way, 8 spots down, even behind a team they beat in Florida. Utah is there at 7-3. Boston College, again, all these 7-3 programs hanging out, having a fun time together. Boise State is there at 8-2. I think they benefit a little bit because they are Boise State, so they get some boost there. Northwestern, Mississippi State, both there at 6-4, but there's not a whole lot of 3-loss teams left there. It's been a very iffy year for the teams 25-15 so far in the AP Top 25. But as for the Big 12, who you got? Oklahoma, West Virginia, Texas, Iowa State. Use those reaction buttons here on Facebook and on YouTube, or just let us know in the comments section. Now, today's show is brought to you by Tavour. If you guys love beer, and I'm sure many of you do out there, you're going to love Tavour. Rare craft beer from all over the country. Sign up is free. You'll get alerted on all of their new beers. They have a bunch of great sours I can't wait to try. And if you use promo code ChatSports, you'll get $10 off your first purchase. That is Tavour and Tavour.com. Don't forget that promo code ChatSports for $10 off. So again, the AP Top 25. Now, typically, we don't see 3 teams go undefeated in any given year. It's at most normally 2, sometimes 1 or 0. Notre Dame seems to be the most likely team to lose a game if that ends up happening. So I want to know from you guys, will Notre Dame lose a game this season? They're going to have a tough schedule here down the stretch. There are a couple notable games I think could be slips for Notre Dame. Most importantly, they go play Syracuse this weekend. That could be the game that ruins Notre Dame's perfect season. That's a home game for the Fighting Irish. Michigan, of course, Georgia there. Oklahoma, West Virginia, those two will play later on in the year. Washington State's big test will come the week after this one in the Apple Cup. OSU against Michigan. LSU had a bit of a scare against Arkansas, but they managed to hold on there. UCF, folks, like we keep telling you, no matter what they do, their schedule just isn't tough enough to get them into the real threat of the mix in the CFP. Syracuse, by the way, 8-2. If they take down Notre Dame, that would really help the ACC and also potentially Michigan and the Big 12 as well. Shout out Utah State, 9-1. Their only loss, a narrow one on the road in Week 1 to Michigan State, and yet the CFP committee has yet to rank Utah State. That's weird, right? Why aren't they ranked? They're 14 in the AP poll. Maybe this week the CFP will put them in the top 25. We will reveal those live to you guys on YouTube, here on Periscope, on Facebook as well, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday. Florida, after a comeback win against South Carolina, followed up before that by a loss against Missouri, they stay at 15. Penn State, Washington, Iowa State, UK, a bunch of 3-loss programs. Penn State had a nice win against Wisconsin. Washington they're at 17. Maybe they can upset Washington State. Iowa State still alive in the Big 12 race. Shout out UC, by the way. They look pretty darn good this season. Utah, Boise State, and Northwestern all ranked for the first time this week in terms of what they were last week. We've seen Utah ranked before as well. BC, they saw it a little bit there. Not ranked, you saw them drop out, was Auburn, and the buzz about Auburn, and maybe this is the time. I know Auburn fans feel this way, so we'll bring this up here in just a second for you guys. Should Auburn fire Gus Malzahn? Give me the wow face for yes, a laughy face for no. On field-wise, it's definitely reasonable to want to fire Gus Malzahn. The issue is the money. The buyout is huge. It just might be too expensive for that Auburn program to afford the buyout. All right, some top games this week. How about Iowa State on the road against Texas? Matt Campbell versus Tom Herman, two of the top programs out there in terms of young coaches. Can those key matchup there? Loser in reality is limited from the Big 12 championship game chances. We'll see who ends up winning that one. I will lean toward Texas at home, but we know that Iowa State and Matt Campbell have done a fantastic job this year, and since Brock Purdy has taken over, they have been very, very impressive. Maybe the bigger matchup of the week, though, Syracuse and Notre Dame. Strangely enough, game day is not going there. Go figure that one, right? Syracuse, Notre Dame, it is a home game for Notre Dame, even though it's going to be a neutral site game up in New York. So that's what's going on there. Notre Dame, 10-0, neutral site matchup. This is the last true test for the Fighting Irish because USC looks terrible. USC is not going to be a threat to Notre Dame. If they win this game, you would figure they will secure themselves a spot in the CFP unless the committee wants to go rogue and penalize the Irish for not having a conference championship game. But Syracuse, Notre Dame, that's the top game this week. For those of you just now joining us here on Twitter and on Facebook, the AP Top 25 is out, and there's not much changing going on in the top 7. In fact, there are no changes there. Bama, Clemson, Notre Dame, Michigan, and Georgia remain your top 5 programs. Oklahoma clings to a narrower lead over West Virginia. Remember, the Sooners had a scare in Bedlam against Oklahoma State. West Virginia checks in there at number 7. Washington State is there at number 8. OSU at number 9. LSU, they were number 10. They were number 8. They slide to number 10 as Washington State is 2 points ahead of Ohio State. A very narrow gap there. UCF stays at number 11. They don't get to slide up because the pollsters and the committees, they just don't like UCF. Syracuse, they're there at number 12. They move up one spot with a chance to move even higher against Notre Dame this weekend. Texas at number 13. Utah State, not ranked by the CFP. They are there at number 14. Florida is at number 15. They slide way up despite having lost to Kentucky, who was behind them. Penn State moves up 5 spots. They go to number 16 after a nice win over Wisconsin. Washington was on bye, and they were winners as a result of that. They move up 3 spots. Iowa State jumps up 5. How about UC up 6 spots to 9-1? UK, they lost on the road to Tennessee. They drop 8 spots. A big slide for the Wildcats, who are once again a basketball school. Utah at number 21. Boise State also ranked for the first time, at least this week compared to last week. Boston College at number 22. And Northwestern, the Big Ten West champs, who lost to Akron at 6-4 there at number 24. Mississippi State is there at number 25. Teams not ranked: Army, UAB. UAB should be ranked. It's a crime that they're not. Fresno State, Michigan State, and NC State. Those last 3 teams all slid out. Buffalo, by the way, believe it or not, the Bulls are 9-1. Pitt might be in the ACC title game. They are there at 6-4. Duke, A&M, Iowa, teams that have been ranked at various points this season. Arizona State, Stanford, Auburn, and Troy. Troy getting just 1 vote. The rest of those schools barely receiving votes this week. All right, folks, tune in 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday here on Chat Sports Facebook, Chat Sports YouTube, and Chat Sports Twitter. We will reveal the CFP rankings live. We'll see if there are any changes in the top 6. So we'll see you guys then, 7 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday.